Special thank you to our sponsor, iGenX. iGenX isn't just a small business. It's a powerhouse ally ready to tackle your agency's toughest tech challenges head on. Specializing in low-code, no-code solutions, advanced analytics, and project management, iGenX is your go-to partner for both federal and commercial projects. But what sets iGenX apart? As a Salesforce Summit-level partner, the company brings unparalleled expertise across the entire Salesforce ecosystem. From MuleSoft and Einstein and Tableau, the expert teams at iGenX don't just build solutions, they engineer them, crafting robust data pipelines and creating stunning visualizations that drive real results. At iGenX, success isn't just a goal, it's a promise. The team is dedicated to delivering measurable benefits that transform your operations. Ready to partner with iGenX? Contact the team at info@igenx.com, spelled info@eigenx.com.
Firstly, the way our reporting structure is, our business unit leads are accountable for 40% growth, 43% gross profit, and 10% net margin. And the reason we have those numbers is because they're not only accountable for growth. I believe gross profit is a perception of value customers see in your services, right?
Right.
And therefore, it's important for business unit leads to continue to provide value for customers.
Right.
The client services business unit leads, they qualify opportunities. So
Welcome to GovCon Unfiltered, where your journey through the labyrinth of federal contracting begins. I'm Alexa Choi, your guide and host on this epic adventure. Here, we dive deep into the heart of government contracting, shedding light on the heroic tales of those who navigate its complex terrain. Our mission? To bring you closer to the action, revealing the critical steps, triumphant victories, and occasional pitfalls that our intrepid adventurers face. Your journey into the world of government contracting starts now, and we could not be happier to have you with us. Let's embark on this adventure together. Thank you for tuning in to GovCon Unfiltered. This is Alexa, Chief Operating Officer of G2X, and today we are talking to Gautam. Very excited about this. He was always on my list, and I'm going to hand it to him to introduce himself.
Thank you, Alexa. Really appreciate the opportunity. My name is Gautam Ijoor, and I'm the President and CEO of Alpha Omega. Alpha Omega hasn't been around for too long. The last 7 years ago, August 8th, 2016 is when we started. Over the last 7 years, we've gone from virtually no revenue to, we ended last year a little over 130 million. At the end of the day, it has little to do with me, more so to do with my leadership team. Unlike other companies our size, we are an inch wide and a mile deep. We have 4 customers, and I'd love to share all that with you.
Wonderful. Can't wait. You kind of already hinted a little bit, and I know you also go by Batman. So Batman,
Yeah.
tell us about your journey. How did you get here to where you are? Only 4 customers. I need to hear a lot more about that. But if you had to pick just one word for your pretty impressive trajectory and success so far, what would that word be?
Wow. That's a good question, Alexa. I would say voices, and I will explain. Voices mainly, Alexa, because I think to build a successful business, the most important thing is having more voices in the decision making of the company rather than just your own. And so leadership aptitude that goes behind listening to people and considering what they have to say in deciding how and where you go is important. And I think it was probably one of the most important reasons for getting us to where we are.
So how do you avoid the falling into the trap of like too many leadership voices, like too many cooks in the kitchen kind of a vibe? When you have a lot of leaders in one room, like how do you get to any decisions?
That's a fantastic question, and here's why. I mean, listening to those voices, Alexa, doesn't necessarily mean you rule by consensus. I
Right.
make decisions, and I don't shy away from making the decisions, and I do not rule by consensus. But I will listen, hear, better understand, and learn what everybody has to say. but then arrive at a decision. And everybody in my leadership team does exactly that. Each of them have their own teams. Few of them you have worked with, so they would do the same with people in their team, and a decision is made. So generally, when there are challenges, we try to articulate what the challenge is, get to discussing a little bit about it, get everybody's perspective, ask follow-on questions so we really understand everybody's perspectives, and then we make a decision. And honestly, following that path, Alexa, you will be amazed how quickly we arrive at resolutions. It's amazing. And more importantly, the buy-in and commitment everybody has with the decision that is made, that's more important. So what happens most often is there's a lot of debate, right? And there are a lot of perspectives,
Yep.
and either the leader tries to keep everybody happy,
Right.
or he makes a decision that includes everybody's opinion, and
Right.
everybody pulls in different directions, and that never gets implemented. Just the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've seen both of those in action in the past, so that was why I asked it. Perfect. Well, how did you get to GovCon? Everybody kind of lands in the industry in a different way. So how did you get here?
I have to stop saying this is a good question, because I mean, it really is a good question. Alexa, 30 years ago, I came to this country to do my master's, right? And the second day in the US, I got a complete assistantship to do my master's program. From
Right.
that assistantship until today, this country's been a gift that has never stopped giving. I mean, for someone coming fresh off the boat, so to speak, it's a momentous moment, right? Somebody supports you to, finish your studies. I really think the US is a superpower, not only because of their military strength, but also because they give ordinary men and women like me a driven sense of purpose, right?
Right.
So I wanted to create a company that didn't just merely create a profit, but also created something of significant value and gave back to this country that's given me an opportunity. And so where I'm going with this is the best way I could do that. I wrote the .com, led teams that built portions of Priceline and Toys R Us.com. And then when you develop this passion and a set of new values, right? The values I grew up with, before I came to the US were radically different from the system of values this country inculcates in you. And so when I started developing these values and I came up with this why behind the business, right? The best place to be in is the federal contracting space. And so as the .com bubble was bursting, right? And
Right.
2002 or
Yeah.
2001, I started looking to move into the federal contracting space, joined
Mm.
as a believe it or not, as a software engineer, and worked through the ranks to kind of get to the vice president of the company I was working in at that time. They were infamous for healthcare.com. But anyway, that was my path, and that's the reason for getting here.
Very fascinating. I have a lot of questions around that, but let me not get sidetracked because we have a lot to get into today. So the next question I wanted to ask you is, as Alpha Omega started small, went to medium, and now is a large business, what did you change between each one of those different areas, I guess? Like everybody wants to know, how do you do it successfully? It's really hard. You have to really plan between the three and understand that the way you operate in each one of those three is very different. So what did you change between the three?
Yeah. So the first thing, Alexa, I mean, this is not my first rodeo, right? In my previous rodeo, right, we started literally from 0 million, and I'm sorry, from $0, right? And we were winning project by project, right? And I wouldn't consider it a major success, but I learned from those failures and really implemented this in Alpha Omega. The first thing I did was I used a 7A loan. I don't know if you're familiar with that,
Uh-huh.
but it's an SBA loan to buy a graduated 8A business, right?
Ah,
There was a reason for doing that. Most, you remember, Alexa, when we first met, right?
right.
I was, consulting with a firm called Avignon, and I was working on this plan. I acquired a business that was about 14 million per year in revenue, right? So I literally had past performance and key personnel and a leadership team that I could now, uh, take
Yeah.
to the next level. So the thing about an SP alone is it's probably the only non-collateralized loan anywhere in the world, right? And it's available to any US citizen. So I used that loan, I restructured it so that I didn't really have to pay a lot as down payment from my pocket. And I was able to acquire a business and then get the right people on the bus into the right seats. And they did the rest and got us to here.
I mean, the long pole in the tent there is really the right people on the bus in the right seats and the bus going in the right direction, right? So how do you know somebody's the right person?
Fantastic question, right? Um, the I have to stop saying that. I'm not going to say that anymore.
All right.
And I was just having this conversation with a coworker of mine, Amy, this morning, right? When you start a business, the core values of the business are your values, right?
Yep.
And
Mhm.
remember, I was talking to you about voices. As the company grows, you sometimes, right, outgrow those values and you build core values by including everybody in your company, right? And so you come up with a set of core values. I'm coming to the answer.
Right.
So everybody in your leadership team needs to be a perfect match to the core values if you
Right.
have the right people on the bus,
Right.
right? There may be an area that may be slightly deficient that can be mentored, that you can mentor them with, right? But they have to be a strong match to your core values to
Right.
be the right people. Now getting them into the right seats is a slightly different thing, right? And
Yep.
but that is also a formidable exercise, right? You might have the right people, but unless they get it, and I'm now quoting things from EOS, right? Unless they get it, they want it, and have the capacity to do it, you are not going to get the optimal performance.
Yes, well, that was a softball right over to EOS, wasn't it? Well, thank you for bringing EOS up. Those who are listening, EOS is a framework for businesses that is actually gaining traction in government contracting. And I feel like Alpha Omega was the first business I heard of that was really operating with EOS. And so, Gotham, let's actually start talking about that. Tell us about it. And do you think so basically tell us what it is in simple terms. How did
Sure.
you hear about it? And do
Yeah.
you think it's working for your company?
Yeah, I mean, let me start with the last question first, Alexa.
Okay, sure.
Um, you know, uh, I mean, it was a day and night change within Alpha Omega has been one of the top reasons that have got us to this point or has helped us be successful. I'm not sure where I heard it. I mean, somebody had recommended the book Traction, and that's how I heard about it. When COVID hit and overnight we were forced into social distancing, remote work was
Right,
thrust on us. I was looking at frameworks that would help in operating a successful business,
right,
right? And then I stumbled across EOS. It's called, I mean, the full form is Entrepreneurial Operating System. After having spent about 5 years, I like to say that it's a lot more than just an operating system. It's a leadership framework. And it's a collection of some critical leadership competencies all put together. It's a it's a very easy model, but it's not very simple to implement, and I'll explain that as we get into it. So a simple description, right? At the base, EOS is and is defining accountability for everybody in your company, right?
right.
Within Alpha Omega, we don't have an organization chart. We have what you call an accountability chart, which
Hmm.
defines. the roles that you're accountable for, not necessarily your activities or anything, but the roles that you're accountable for. It goes a little beyond telling you who you report to and who reports to you in saying where the buck stops. Alexa, that is the most critical, because when something does not work out, right, and everybody understands whose accountability it is, they learn from lessons learned and do better the next time. And it keeps them very motivated and so on and so forth. So in short, EOS has the accountability chart at its base.
This is pretty fascinating, actually, the accountability chart instead of the organization chart, right?
Yes.
That is
Yeah.
very, very cool. Very cool. One of the downsides of EOS, I did some research before I
Yes.
wrote these questions for you, is really, change is hard, right? I don't know if you've ever read the book, How to Change When Change is Hard. It's a great book by
Yes.
Dan.
Yeah.
But basically, how did you get everybody to agree to do this? How did you really set the stage of like, hey guys, we're going to change everything. It's going to change your reporting structure. It's going to change how you show up to meetings. It's going to change your alignment. And like, how did you get buy-in from the team?
Again, I'm not going to say it's a great question, but it is a great question, Alexa. So, another component of EOS is it gives you a 1 page or 2 page business plan, right? But, resistance to change is a natural phenomenon. And
Yes.
one leadership competency is managing change. And the answer lies in a question you previously asked me, right? What I told you about voices. I mean, there are more voices that affect the decision making in Alpha Omega besides my own, but we don't rule by consensus, because when you do that, you don't have commitment for people to move forward. So when making a change, every step is discussed with your leadership team, and then your leadership team discusses with their teams, and so on and so forth. These discussions, you try to understand everybody's perspective. Understanding their perspective helps you make the right decision, but ultimately the decision is is made, and we arrive at the decision in a very, very short time, right? So that framework is very helpful in managing change. So there are certain things in that 1 page or 2 page business plan that EOS kind of prescribes that is hugely beneficial, right? It tells you your 10-year plan, right? It's called a BHAG in business school. We call it a
Yeah.
very
BHAG.
audacious
Yeah.
goal. But
Yeah.
irrespective of it, EOS simplifies it and says, when you start a business, think of where you want to go in 10 years. Use that as a guiding light. Now, so there are these simple components, right? I never walked into my leadership team and said, "Hey, we're changing everything. We're going to follow EOS." Instead, I walked into the team and said, "Hey, let's have a 10-year goal, right? And let's have a 1 year goal. Let's have a 3 year goal.
Right.
Let's, think about what our core values are, what are important for us as a company, right? And
Right.
these values we would evaluate everybody by. And you listen to what they have to say. You
Right.
use their perspective in arriving at the core values. But then, by the time you finish, you have your 2 page business plan ready and you're on your way into EOS. So, in short, getting buy-in from your leadership team, it's easier when you share the purpose behind every leadership trait that EOS recommends. I mean, and we did not have a problem in kind of making that change.
Well, I hope people listening to this pick up the book Traction and also take a look at EOS as perhaps one of the helping items for your business.
There are 3 books. Start with Traction,
Yep.
but make sure you read Get a Grip, right?
Oh,
It's EOS in. I mean, the second book is Get a Grip in that order, because it tells you how to implement EOS, and the third is Rocket Fuel. The
okay.
relationship between the visionary and integrator is clarified there, right? And so
Got it.
ideally, Alexa, and please forgive me, please tell me to stop if I'm if digressing, But I mean, ideally, US is recommended for companies that are 15 people to 215 people.
Right.
If you take those leadership framework, leadership ideas, and implement it in your business, you can use it when you're one person, and you can use it when you're, you know, 1,000 people or $1 billion in revenue. And that's what we did. We are close to 500 people, Alexa, but
Right.
some of the leadership competencies we learned that were prescribed by EOS, we continuously use it, and it continues to give us, consistent results even today.
Wonderful. Great. Well, thanks for sharing about EOS.
Federal proposals, your voice, less time, exceptional results. Voltron gives you the power of custom language models to reduce proposal development costs by 54% and start to finish submission time by 63%. Voltron is the only AI platform that synthesizes the valuable business development and capture information you obtain to write high-quality, compliant proposal content specific to your company and each solicitation. Stop throwing it over the fence. Schedule a demo today at vultron.ai.
My next question is really one that's near and dear to my heart. And I have a lot of opinions about it, but everybody has government contracting on the chasing business side is a little bit art, a little bit science, and a whole lot of customer service. So in your perspective, do you prefer to have an outside growth team, or do you prefer the doer seller model, and why?
I mean, I'm not going to say it's a fantastic question, but it truly is. So, I mean, if you don't mind, I'd like to digress a little bit. So, Alpha Omega's name, right? The name comes from the first and the last letter of the Greek alphabet. And this is
Yeah.
not an infomercial about Alpha Omega. There is a relevance at the end, Alexa.
Okay.
And so the reason we named it after the first and the last letter of the Greek alphabet is to signify an end-to-end, beginning to end, or a complete solution, right? And we have features that are very tied to having a complete solution, right? We,
Right.
things like we don't go after opportunities because it implements some cool state of the art technology merely for technology's sake. We feel to get a true, complete solution to your customers, you need to be an expert in their domain. You need to
Right.
really understand their mission, and you need to also consider the business and how the business should be changed or updated to kind of help reach the mission. The reason I gave you that background is my answer is uh, definitely not having an external sales team,
Mhm.
because winning and delivering has to be internal within an organization. Within Alpha Omega, our sales is decentralized. I
Right.
have business unit leads, and Chris Cole and Gabe Osier and Joanne Gladden, they all have business units that mirror domains. We have three domains:
Right.
climate sciences, foreign affairs, and national security.
Right.
And so within these domains, they have salespeople integrated with client services people. Because, I mean, sometimes people say, hey, winning and delivering are completely different things. I
Mhm.
totally disagree. And I think winning and delivering is a constant process of providing the best value to your customers. The reason I don't think it should be external is mainly because the people that win work should be the people that are committed to providing the best value to your customers. Hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you're basically saying the doer seller model is better, which is cool. I mean,
Yes,
my opinion is just pick one. Just
yes,
don't try to do both, because that's what
yes,
people try to do. My other question comes down to how do you balance your delivery folks' time then in that case? Because they're on the clock, right? They're billable. So how do you make sure that they can deliver that level of excellence, but still you have these expectations of growth? So how do you balance the two?
yeah. I should clarify something. Yes, I recommend to do a seller model, right? And if you have anybody doing external sales, they should be integrated with your team in a do
Mhm.
a seller model. right? So,
Yeah.
and that brings me to the second question. We always hire people that are that
Oh.
triple threads that really understand the customer, right?
Mhm,
Can understand how to provide client services as
mhm.
well as how to win work or listen to what provides value for the customer and try to address that value by providing a great solution. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
I personally feel when you have, and again, external consultant or external team, when you're not in a doer seller model, your sales team is disparate from your client services team.
Right,
They are the ones that understand the mission. Client services understands the mission of your customers. They understand the pain points.
right.
They are on the line if the promises you made in your proposals aren't delivered. It's natural that they also make those promises, and that's why we have that model.
So, all right, this is a question related to that, but not on the list. When you go into your step reviews, every company does it a little bit differently, but any company that's as successful as yours does it. When you go into your step reviews, do your operations people have a vote on a bid, no bid?
Yeah. So our bid review, again, I really want to say this is a great question. No, our bid review board. Okay. So, just to kind of give you an idea, the answer is yes, and yes on many folds. Firstly, the way our reporting structure is, our business unit leads are accountable for 40% growth, 43% gross profit, and 10% net margin. And the reason we have those numbers is because they're not only accountable for growth, I believe gross profit is a perception of value customers see in your services, right?
Right,
And therefore, it's important for business unit leads to continue to provide value for customers.
right,
The client services business unit leads, they qualify opportunities. So when they have someone in their team that brings an opportunity that is a little disjointed from what you want to do, that's a little disjointed from your strategic plan, even if they know the customer very well, understand the customer very well, they are empowered to pull the plug. When you want to hold people accountable, it's very important to empower them. So we absolutely give them the exclusive right to qualify an opportunity. They can take feedback from people, but
right,
they are accountable to qualify an opportunity in their business unit, right? Our bid review board is made out of people not only in client services
right.
or the centralized or the proposal and capture teams which are centralized, but also people from talent acquisition and HR and
Mhm.
people from finance, because I feel everybody has a stake in winning an opportunity. And I can give you a couple of examples.
No, but this is so fascinating, and I feel like anybody that runs a small government contractor or anybody that works at a small business government contractor would really be interested in how you set this up. Like, how do you? I guess it goes back to the same question I asked you in the beginning: is you have a lot of different people with that care about different things. How do they all get on the same page? Should we bid this or not? Like, how do you come to that like final decision?
Oh, very, very good question. So, uh, again, we never rule by consensus, but you
Right,
get these diverse perspectives, right? So, let's
right,
say there's an opportunity that, there is something that, I don't attend the BD meetings, right? Necessarily as I moved into,
right.
being a little hands off, right? And focusing more on inorganic growth. Then it's completely handled by a chief growth officer. Well, but there is one meeting every week that I have scheduled, and I have the bid review board attend that. And every person closest to the opportunity, whether they are a BD hunter or they are a capture person, they bring an opportunity and present it to the group, right?
Got it.
And you go through small details in an opportunity and question that. Some of the questions I have is if the talent act, because think about it, right? Most of the people coming into your company is coming when you win an opportunity. You
Right.
remember I spoke about the alpha omega solution. We when we win an opportunity, we don't merely transition incumbents only to provide a slightly better level of service. We provide a
Right.
mix of labor. Some incumbents, so some people from a talent factory that have gone through 6 months of training, and some people that are from other projects in Alpha Omega, so they know the Alpha Omega flavor. We provide that mix. And so the question that I have is talent acquisition involved with the opportunity? And if so, have they identified the key people on the incumbent contract that
Mm,
understand what the challenges are? Do we
right.
have a mission SME who understands the mission of a customer?
Right.
Are they working with our total solutions group, the technologists, to
Mhm.
provide a technical solution that is really a complete solution? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then I ask a question about finance. Has the pricing folks really got involved well before an RFP has dropped in
Mhm.
analyzing the competitive rates of our competition on that opportunity and so on and so forth?
Right.
What regulations affect us and so on and so forth? So there is, everybody has an aspect to winning an opportunity,
Right.
everybody in my leadership team. And so it's easy to get them on the same sheet of music and have them row in the same direction.
Got it. Wow. I would love to attend one of your bid review board meetings. But let me ask you another question kind of related. You mentioned business school. And I have an opinion that I feel like owning a business is a little bit like being a doctor or, some kind of training that you should have before you go to start and own a business. Because there, if not, it's like Theranos, right? Like what happened to business ethics didn't exist for that company, right? So, I feel like the folks who have a business degree understand how to run a business better, but there are a lot of folks, especially in government contracting, that run businesses that have never taken a business class in their life. So do you think it's possible to own and run a government contracting firm without having any experience, or any company really, in business school?
Yeah. Alexa, and the best way to answer that question is, there are two parts to my answer. The first is, I mean, I went to the Darden School of Business, right?
Right.
And if I had to do it again, I would absolutely do it. It was the best experience, right?
Really?
I could get from any education that I've had previously, and I have a master's in the technical field and a bachelor's in a technical field, and so on and so forth. Just the system of studies and every aspect of that, the Darden School of Business in the University of Virginia is outstanding. I would do it again. But having said that, I think, if you ask me if there's one trait that makes me a great leader, it is intelligence or the lack thereof. And here's why, right? I always think that my IQ is lesser than the average human. And I'm being facetious a little bit, but at the same time, a point that I want to make is, I mean, when you're a little ignorant, right? You surround yourself with people that are far more intelligent, and you really listen to what they have to say, and you
Mhm.
consider their perspective before making a decision. And I think
Right.
that is significantly more important.
Actually, that's a good point. And this is what's beautiful about having these kind of conversations, and that was well said. So speaking of your particular superpowers, we're going to move to the last two questions I ask everybody. The first question is, if someone was watching your journey, which I know a lot of people are watching your journey, Gotham, actually, what two pieces of advice would you give somebody in this industry to be successful?
Uh, wow. So the two things that I would tell them, right? The first, I mean, you've read Simon Sinek, haven't you, Alexa?
Oh
Science
yeah.
of Why.
Oh yeah.
Uh, I think the most important thing to start a business, especially a business that would soon be successful, is really having a well-defined why behind the business, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a first piece of advice. The
Right.
second, I think we've addressed that a little bit, is getting the right people on the bus, and
Mhm.
sometimes, unfortunately, getting the wrong people off the bus.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
those are
Yeah.
the two pieces of advice I would give them.
Well, Wow. I mean, find your why. I say that all the time. Yeah. So I think that's a really, really important one, as well as finding the people that make up your tribe, right? Because we're
Yes,
always constantly looking for those people. And like you said earlier, it's really about figuring out what your values are and finding the people that align closest to those, right? But
exactly.
before you can find the people, you have to know what the values are.
100%. No, no, you hit the nail right on the head. And if you don't know your values, I mean, what your values are, but you go find somebody who has done something magical before,
Yeah,
you know, that's a sure recipe for failure.
exactly. Okay, perfect. So Gotham, I think I might know, but I'd love for you to tell me. What do you consider to be your superpower and how did you find it?
In that question, I have to tell you, Alexa, that question I actually discussed with our marketing person, and she strongly recommended that I don't give you the response that I'm giving you. Um, my superpower is
GovCon Unfiltered. That you have to give me the one she didn't want you to tell me.
just knowing me, I would never shy away from it. My superpower is my relative ignorance. My relative ignorance has made it very, very easy to find people that are far more brilliant than myself. And if anything, listening to what they have to say has helped me kind of really steer the ship in the right direction.
Right, right, right. Well, I think your humble approach, assuming everybody else is smarter than you, so that makes you a good listener, right? And that's the key, active listening and really approaching everybody as if you could possibly learn something from them is indeed a very rare superpower.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you so much, Gotham, for sitting with us today. We really appreciate it. Catch us next time on GovCom Unfiltered. We are looking forward to seeing you there.
Thank you, Alexa. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
As we draw the curtain on today's chapter of GovCom Unfiltered, I want to thank you for joining us on this remarkable journey through the intricate world of federal contracting. I'm Alexa Choi, and it's been an honor to navigate these stories of courage, innovation, and resilience with you. Until we meet again, keep pushing boundaries, exploring new horizons, and making your mark in the government contracting universe. Farewell for now, but not forever. Stay tuned for more adventures that await in the next episode of GovCom Unfiltered. Safe travels on your path to greatness, and remember, we are all on this journey together.